At our school, we don't talk about the ISD, but we talk about the SAMR model, and that's what I used to interview the teachers. I sent them out Google form questionnaire with for them to let me know where they were at or how they use technology to redefine, to augment, or to substitute where they were, and they gave me some responses online, and then I interviewed three of them.
I think I'm in between augmentation and modification, and because we are a one-on-one computer, I have to include technology in my classroom. So sometimes it's only augmentation because I feel like students should be using the tools that they have.
In general, of course, I'm all four levels at any given time. It depends on what's going on, but overall, I guess I would average out to somewhere in the modification. I think I'm getting close to redefining in terms of using Google Classroom.
As an educator, I strive to be, of course, at the redefinition, but I think technology allows us to steadily get there. Modification for sure to redefining what learning looks like.
We use tools like Quizlet, Quizlet Live, Kahoot, or different online tools where students can learn. Instead of learning from me, they can learn on their own. Sometimes it's when they use like Google Docs simply to collaborate or even to produce their work instead of doing it in writing, for example. Sometimes technology is just a tool that I have, for example, to show a video and to have students listen to other Spanish speakers and not only me. So I think there is no day in which our computers are not used in the classroom.
Mainly through Google Classroom, where I'm able to share with them a document, and then they get their own copy, and they're able to complete it, and they can, as they work, I can monitor them, and we can actually collaborate in real time, or asynchronously, I can leave them notes.
Language and what it could do. What I did was we created a textbook together. So that's another thing that technology allows us to do rather than having a stagnant book. When we're studying the media, when we're studying the news, when we're studying power of language and taboo and politics, etc., what we ended up doing was I realized traditionally as a teacher I would have to find all the articles, kind of bring it in and say, let's deconstruct. But when I gave the power back to the students, so with all their devices, I helped them set up a Flipboard. And with the Flipboard as a magazine, then I realized the educational implications of that. So I could create a magazine that said language and taboo, and the students would have the code to that, and then as they read, because again, students read at different times, and they go to all sorts of sources, and what they're influenced by, it becomes something real, and they can put in the materials. So our textbook was live. So imagine that, rather than saying, read this article that I find interesting, which might not be for the kids, changes the way that students learn. It's empowering them as learners. Not saying that the learning happens or the teaching happens in one way. Teacher produces and they receive. They're not receptacles, but they're producers together. And that is most definitely redefining what learning looks like and changing the traditional classroom where the information goes one way.
The mathematics teacher shared his descriptive statistics unit with me, which objectives were describe and interpret concepts of population sample, describe and interpret bivariate data displays, and correlations between two variables.
This is more of an assignment. It was a culminating assignment, kind of a formative that I gave on some statistics that we were doing. And it was in the book. This was investigation number 5. And it gave us some information about the cholesterol levels of people before and after a drug, before the drug, after the drug, and here was a placebo. So it's kind of a very real-world application, and it was a culminating formative on statistics. So instead of just having them do it from the book and then doing it on this calculator, which is, it's also technology, but this isn't the way people do these problems. They make spreadsheets. I taught them a little bit about the formulas that a spreadsheet can do and count things for them automatically, and automatically they don't have to go and calculate the averages and the standard deviations. There's formulas for all that, and so I taught them how to do that. And then instead of them getting out a ruler and a piece of paper and a graph paper and making this, well, then that's just absurd. No one does that anymore. And the spreadsheet, of course, can do that for them automatically. And they can quickly see the effectiveness of the drug and the ineffectiveness of the placebo. So every student got one of these via Google Classroom. I set it up for them. But I had them type in the information and make the graph, and then Google Classroom allows you to share a document like this with the student, and then everybody gets their own copy. So I maintain the master copy, they get their copy, and then I can pull it up as they work and then watch them work. And I can comment in real time, like, oh, that's not right, that you don't want to do it that way. I can write a little comment over here, and it'll pop up, and then they'll read it. And if they start doing they can ask me a question in real time, whether they're at home or they're sitting right there across from me. And I can do it with all of my students. I can pull it up in Classroom and watch them work. So it's great.
So the teacher is definitely a learner and a leader. The teacher is really seeking technology to learn more so he can empower students to be successful and go beyond the walls of the classroom. He is definitely a designer because he's using technology to design tasks that will help students go beyond if they were just with their textbook. It could go even further if you were engaging students, communicators, right? Helping students to be a creative communicator. And I think that as a collaborator, encourage students to be good communicators, and they how to interpret data but also to communicate data. And by expanding this task, the teacher could also foster students' collaboration with experts or with other students within the community by using the mathematical language. And I think in this way, he would be promoting many things at the same time if that task would have required or empower students to use the language of mathematics to communicate with the community their findings. And that he would have been exploring different collaborative tools where the students could be communicating their findings and exchanging their curiosity, asking questions about their data and their problems, like the literature teacher did. I think that it would have been really powerful for next time the teacher to go beyond Having that the said, spreadsheet, Here's but my checklist use to guide my use of being a technology while developing my lesson plan.